Welcome back to Gaelic Games Fan TV. It's the football review show. We're going to be looking back at all the weekend's Gaelic football action. Obviously, normally do these on a Sunday or a Monday, but both of ourselves were a little bit busy, obviously, over the last few days, and certainly a bit of a hectic weekend for myself. So we're doing it on a Tuesday in the end, and it gives us a few more days to digest the games, look at the reaction, obviously, online, and sort of break down the games a little bit in more detail. Some very, very interesting games to run through. Dublin obviously beating Kerry very, very convincingly. Big wins for Tyrone as well against the likes of Mayo. Roscommon getting over the line. And of course, down in Division 2, you also had some huge results as well for the likes of Cork, which I'm sure Matthew will be happy about. Meath getting a huge result there as well. Cavan as well coming on strong, potentially pushing themselves towards a bit of a promotion battle. And we're running through a lot of the talking points and games from both Divisions 3 and 4 as well. Matthew, how's things? I was chatting to you off air. You're in good form anyway because Cork finally won a game.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for having me on again, Aaron. It's ages at this point, but we finally won a game. I never thought, I said this to Seamus now the other night in his show, I never thought I'd go on and talk to you and feel absolutely delighted about a win over Fermanagh, but that's where we are at the moment. Unfortunately, we are in a relegation dogfight. We had to get the win. We did get the win, and that was the main thing. But the main thing is as well to beat Kildare next week. That's a huge, huge battle in store next week in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. So yeah, looking forward to chatting about the games. I know it's late and stuff like that, but I know you were busy on your end celebrating the hill after that game against Kerry. I think every Cork fan was absolutely delighted looking at that as well. But I was busy over the last few days as well, just doing Limerick Voice stuff, podcasts and stuff like that, assignments. And there was a podcast out today actually on previewing the Limerick Drive for Five in hurling. I know they beat your good old selves Dublin on Saturday night, but they are on a steam train at the moment, the Limerick hurlers, and there's a podcast on the Limerick Voice out now where I discuss the Drive for Five with Corey O'Brien. So check that out if you haven't already. And looking forward to getting into the discussion about the games at the weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah, certainly plenty to run through. Plenty of people in the comments. Kieran says here Dublin made Kerry look very ordinary despite the players they didn't have on display. Looks very ominous for the rest of the chasing pack. Desi rebuilding nicely for a new area. Yeah, we'll certainly get into it. It was a very, very good result for ourselves. Farney Fan TV says we're Division 2 ballers next year. Yeah, it's not looking good for Monaghan. It certainly isn't. And Gaelic Guy says, unfortunately, we can't banter Cork, but Kildare are still to be bantered. And look, they play each other next week, so there'll be someone there we can laugh at or whatever. Hopefully, well, to be fair, I think Kildare are gone anyway at this stage. Like, they still have to play Donegal as well, but we'll certainly run through those games in another conversation. I suppose we'll start with the Tyrone and Mayo game. It was Tyrone 115, Mayo 110. This was obviously on Saturday evening before the Dublin and Kerry game. I didn't get a chance to see this live, but I did see the highlights back on the Sunday game on Sunday night. Look, I mean, from looking at the highlights anyway, and from reading reports and everything else, it looked like Mayo were by far the better side in the second half. Tyrone, very slow, lethargic, much like a lot of their performances this year. But the second half, they clicked into gear. I mean, Darren McCurry comes on, makes a huge impact. Darragh Canavan in the absolute form of his life as well. He looked like a player who did very well getting that rest, sort of without having to play Sigerson Cup during the week. And I don't know what it is about Mayo, but it just seems to sort of click Tyrone into gear, and it sort of just wakes them up. And it was almost like looking at that, it was almost as if Tyrone and Brian Dooher were almost saying, look, if we lose this game, we're gone. We're getting relegated and everything else. And they turned it on in the second half, and by God, did they turn it on.
They did, and the thing was, the first half, you were looking at it and thinking, Mayo are going to be clear winners in this game, but one change at half time, it changed everything. Darren McCurry comes on the second half, scores 8 points, hit 10 points, 80% shot accuracy, did well when he came on, and he helped Canavan a lot. I know Canavan has been outstanding in the last few games. He's well documented, like even though his stats on Canavan in the last 4 games, they played through college and for Tyrone. 19 shots, 1 goal, 14 points, 112 from play, 79% shot accuracy, and 2 man of the match awards. He's on fire. Darragh Canavan, the Ergal Kieran man, and with Darren McCurry up front, they look really, really dangerous to run. And if Rory Canavan kicks into gear, which he hasn't done so in the league so far, they have the potential to do so. But even I was listening to the football pod in the last 2 days, and Paddy Andrews made a very good point about Tyrone. They probably have better potential than Mayo, looking at the players that they do have, with McCurry, with the two Canavans in particular. But the problem is consistency. You looked at Tyrone last season in particular, they performed well at stages, they performed well in the first half against Armagh in the group stages, then they capitulated against Kerry in the quarterfinals in Grove Park. Tyrone are that sort of a team. Against Galway last week, they were very, very poor at home. Against Mayo in the second half, they turned it on. And even this game, it was contrasting. The first half, Mayo absolutely controlled it. The second half, Tyrone were well on top. And that's it. That's the thing with Tyrone. They're very good players, very inconsistent, and that's the trouble with them, and probably why they can't win an All-Ireland title. And Kevin McStay was very, very disappointed, let's just say, about the game overall. Look at the post-match interview. But look, it drags Mayo back into a relegation dogfight now. They're on 4 points. A lot of teams on 4 points. I think there's 2 points separating second and seventh. So that's a big loss for Mayo. And it puts Tyrone back in the hunt to keep up, to stay up in Division 1. So yeah, it's down to them 2 boys in particular, in McCurry and Canavan, but I think there'll be a lot of question marks about Mayo and how they capitulated in that second half. And yeah, they were so far clear in the first half, and then in an instant, it just changed instantly in that second half.
Yeah, what do you think it was that changed from a Tyrone perspective? Like, do you think it was a case of Brian Dooher maybe laying into the lads at half time, telling them, you know what, you need to click into gear here? Because, as you said, one thing we've looked at Tyrone over the last couple of years is that we've never doubted the players that they have. We've never doubted their potential. And even the younger lads who've come in the last couple of years as well, like the likes of the Canavans, Kieran Daly, he's obviously sort of a new starting forward, obviously within this Tyrone team as well. Like, do you think it's like because I was looking at it and I was thinking the talent's been there with Tyrone for the last couple of years, and even in the league at times this season, but they just never seem to produce it. So what do you think it was maybe that clicked them into gear?
Honestly, I think it was just that one change, bringing McCurry on, giving them more of an outlet than Canavan. And I think that was a massive thing for Tyrone moving forward. Like, even the midfield started to perk up a small bit in the second half. Like, they were making runs, they were making diagonal runs. And what was different in terms of their play, not just substitutes or anything like that. In the first half, they were very slow, very pedestrian. They were passing the ball over and back, a bit like what I described Cork as a Division 2. Once they get to the 45, they hand pass the ball back. But the difference was in the second half, there was a bit of oomph about them. They got the ball, got it straight at Darragh Canavan. Look at the goal. Put it straight into Canavan. He's going to run at the Mayo defence back of the net. And that's what Tyrone need to do in more games, more than this. And a lot of people's opinions, including myself, might have changed over one half of football, which is very, very unlike many people. But like, Tyrone have to prove it now. They can't just prove that's a flash in the pan, that second half performance. They have to prove that game in, game out. If they don't do that, they won't be All-Ireland contenders. And even looking at the next few games, I think they've Monaghan coming up, they've Kerry in their next game next week. If they produce, like, the thing is, if Tyrone produce a first half performance like they did against Mayo, against Kerry in that first half, the game could be over, because that game is on in Killarney or Tralee. So that's going to be a tough game regardless for Tyrone. So they can't make the same mistakes as they did in the first half. They can't be slow and lethargic. They can't let their men drift off in defence. And they have to play fast ball. If they don't do that, then problems could arise. But I think if they produce performances like they did exactly in that second half, with McCurry and Canavan on the pitch, I think they'll be a dangerous team for anybody moving into the championship. Even in Ulster, which is well documented, he's very competitive at this moment of time.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, and I suppose from a Mayo perspective, like as Gaelic guy says here, Mayo bottled the game 4 up at half time, I think, but lose by 5. Yeah, like, it was probably one of them where Tyrone, obviously coming out with so much to prove, they probably just blew Mayo away, and I don't think Mayo were probably expecting Tyrone to look as good as that. And obviously there've been plenty of rumours in the build up to this game as well about Darren McCurry potentially leaving the panel and everything else, and then he comes on and puts in that kind of a performance. So yeah, like from a Mayo perspective, like they do have 4 points on the board. I know the relegation zone's very, very tight. I still think they've more than enough to stave off any relegation worries. I still think they've enough quality there from looking at them in the last couple of games. But there definitely would be some worries about Mayo, all right, like because especially like game management has always been a big problem for them, and to see them looking comfortable and then to throw that away, like I know obviously when it comes championship, maybe things might be different, but definitely a bit of a worrying sign for Mayo. And actually, one thing that from looking at the highlights of this game, the second half reminded me a lot of the Dublin and Mayo game in the All-Ireland quarter-final, where Dublin just pushed up on Mayo, kept turning them over time and time and time again. And looking at Tyrone's performance here, it just reminded me of that again. And that probably just tells me that Mayo really haven't learned, at all much.
That's a very good comparison, actually. And what I will say, the first half and the second half was complete polar opposites for Mayo. The first half, they were doing what Tyrone did in the second half, if that makes sense. Killian O'Connor, for example, I know he's an old enough player now, 31, 32, but he runs back at the defensive positions. He was getting a massive amount of turnovers. And I know they got the penalty in that first half, but I know it was a controversial decision, and probably we might get onto that a bit later on. But like to get in that position in the first place, that took some guts for Jordan Flynn, in fairness. But then the second half, I just think it looked like they didn't expect Tyrone to come out with a fire in their belly at all. And they expected the Tyrone performance in the first half. And what Kevin McStay can't do in the championship in particular is to basically expect the unexpected. Like, I know that there's a lot of ads around that now, but it's the same for Mayo, definitely. Because you looked at the Dublin performance in particular, Mayo, I know Colin Baskell got the goal before half time in that particular All-Ireland quarter final, but Dublin looked probably underperforming compared to Mayo in that game, and Mayo just went off them in the second half. Colin Baskell was running rings around, and I think they only scored under 5 points in that second half in the All-Ireland quarter finals. In this game, I think they scored one. I think it was 1-5 in the first half and 6 points in the second half. Like they're not too bad in terms of that, but at the same time, you have to kind of expect the unexpected, and you have to expect Tyrone to come out and give it their all, because like as you say, Brian Dewar might have gone laying into them. And this thing is with Tyrone as well. Tyrone lost at home the week previous to Galway. They wouldn't have wanted the same thing to happen again. So I'm actually shocked at how Mayo came back out in that second half. And Kevin McStay has a lot to fix, but will he fix it in time for the championship? Time will tell.
Absolutely. Yeah, let us know, anyone tuning in, what was your thoughts on Tyrone's win versus Mayo? Dublin, huge win for them against Kerry, 3-18 to 1-14. I was at the game, and yeah, like I'm still kind of surprised, to be honest, by the margin of victory. Like to beat Kerry in the way that we did, obviously by 10 points at Croke Park, doesn't happen every day of the week. It's certainly one of our biggest wins against Kerry in either league or championship in quite a long time. And yeah, like first half, we just absolutely blew them away. Conor O'Callaghan obviously gets 2 goals, one of them a penalty. The first goal, really well taken, obviously through a great bit of passing in the build-up. And Kerry came back at the second half a little bit. They had a bit of a run. They obviously scored a very good goal to start the second half from Joe O'Connor. But Dublin just kicked into gear after that. And the intensity and the pressure that Dublin played with was very, very good. And, considering Dublin still have a good bulk of players to come back in as well, James McCarthy, Cluxton, Mick Fitzsimons, obviously the older guard. But I think in terms of the younger players, like they're all getting better. Lee Gannon, Sean Bugler, all very, very impressive. Conor O'Callaghan now back to his best. I think Kieran Kilkenny's looking more and more like his best as well. So, like, is there an argument that Dublin maybe are looking even better than last year, considering the players that they have to come back as well?
I think the difference between Dublin this year and last year, by the looks of the performance against Kerry the other night, was a lot of them players, including Con, who had an outstanding performance, were let off the leash. Once they're let off the leash, they will produce brilliant performances. Like Con scoring a hat-trick, 3-4 overall. I think 7 shots taken out of 9, which was an incredible tally. So, like, once he has a free roaming role, he will run muck on any defence. You look at the likes of Shane Walsh and David Clifford. Conor O'Callaghan is just as good as them on his day. He's just an incredible footballer. So, like, I think Dublin look really, really good at the moment. And I know it wasn't just Con. Like, Sean Butler got 3 points. Kieran Kilkenny got 3 points. Ross McGarry was chipping in. Brian Fenton was really good at midfield. Like, even Owen Merchant, the performance he put in on David Clifford was outstanding. And for the size of it, well, I think it was just a shock to everybody in the stadium. I don't know what you thought yourself, Aaron, that Owen Merchant was the guy selected to be on one of the greatest footballers we've ever seen. So for him to go on Clifford and produce that performance was brilliant, and fair play to him for that. And Jason Foley has been in really good form for Kerry over the last 2 games. With this game, he was absolutely torn asunder by Con. And that's a credit to Conor O'Callaghan. He was absolutely electric in this game. Every time Dublin seemed to go forward, it looked like they were going to score. Like, they had a 72% shot accuracy in the first half, 70% overall. It was really, really good. And they didn't have a wide, I think, until, I might be corrected on this, I think under Paolo Cuffy Burns' fisted effort that went just past the post. I think that was their first wide, and it was on 25 minutes. Like, that is incredible. Incredible accuracy. And I will say this about Dublin. I think they've shut a lot of people up, including myself, who said in the power rankings a few weeks ago that I'll put them third. This performance has definitely raised my judgment of them. They look really, really good. And as for Kerry, look, Dublin were really, really good. But there has to be 2 sides to every story. And I think the worrying thing from a Kerry point of view, that was nearly their best team. With Paddy Clifford there, with David Clifford, with Sean O'Shea, with Jason Foley at full back, you had Ty Morley at centre back, you had Shane Ryan in goal, Joe O'Connor, and even like a few things for Kerry that I noticed. Number one, and I watched this game on the TV. I don't know, was it you're saying for yourself, Aaron? And Seamus agreed with me on this point. Paddy Clifford was anonymous in that first half. I can't actually remember him getting the ball in the first half. And the thing is, and Seamus made a very good point in my podcast earlier on this year when I asked him the question, is Sean O'Shea at full forward a good thing for Kerry and feeding off David Clifford? He said it's only a good thing if you have a lad outside that's going to get good quality ball in. And the answer for that was Paddy Clifford. But as soon as Dublin kept him quiet, what do Kerry have then? So that's going to be a worry for Kerry. Dylan Gainey, Killian Burke, decent enough in their Crow Park bout, but they just didn't have the oomph. Maybe they'll have the last laugh in the summer. Maybe they'll improve. We'll have to see on that. But yeah, some worrying signs for Kerry. And yeah, like Paulie didn't get the ball, as I mentioned. And another thing as well in the second half, which was really, really surprising from Jack O'Connor's point of view from the sideline. Joe O'Connor in midfield from Austin Sachs, who probably Kerry's best, most attacking outlet in that second half, got a brilliant goal, got a point, and then as soon as that happens, Jack O'Connor hauls him off. Why? Yeah. Like, it's it's really, really strange. I don't know, was Jack trying to rest the guy? Was he? If Jack O'Connor was trying to win that game, which I'm sure he was, Dublin Kerry is always a big game in Crow Park. Why are you taking Joe O'Connor off? And it is a positive that he is excelling, because there's been question marks about Kerry's midfield and they found the midfielder. But why, after scoring a brilliant goal and a brilliant point, would you take your best performer off the pitch? I'm actually not sure. And him going into the stands as well was a bit baffling. So, yeah, it was baffling for Kerry. But what I will say on the last comment about this, Aaron, Dublin fans might be laughing now, like yourself and Seamus, but Kerry might be waiting in the long grass come the summer. Watch the space.
Absolutely. No, look, and I think most Dublin fans, Kerry fans, like, we're not, we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. We're not going to get carried away. Like, we've seen big results happen in the league before. We've seen mad results happen in the past, and it's one of them things where, look, once it comes championship, that's when it matters. When it comes to All-Ireland semi-final or final, when Dublin and Kerry are set to meet each other again, or whenever that may be, maybe it might be a quarter-final, who knows? People will look back at this game and they might maybe mention it in the preview to that game, but I don't think it will be the sole factor. And I think the same would have applied if Kerry had beaten Dublin by 10 points as well. But I thought it was an interesting point he made, though, about Paddy Clifford as well. Like, it looked like it was Keane Murphy who was picking him up, and I thought he was having a very, very good game. And do you know what the thing is? It's actually interesting, because I feel like a lot of teams have maybe looked at Kerry a lot of the time and they've gone, well, if we stop David Clifford, if we stop Sean O'Shea, then we're on our way to beating Kerry. But actually, if you cut off the supply chain to those two players, maybe that's actually the way to go about it. And to be fair, like, because when David Clifford had the ball, he was making things happen. Like, he was putting Owen Merchant and spinning them left and right, and he was making a lot of stuff happen. But the thing I noticed was that Clifford wasn't really getting the ball much, David Clifford. So, yeah, I think maybe that might be something to look at going forward.
And the thing is as well, when you noticed in the second half, when things were going wrong for Kerry and Dublin were pushing further and further in front, when Sean O'Shea and David Clifford got the ball, in particular O'Shea, they started to make mistakes, elementary mistakes. Like, there was one free right in front of the post from Sean O'Shea, and he wouldn't usually miss it, and he hit the post. Like, that doesn't usually happen to a brilliant player like Sean O'Shea. So I think it was just a mentality thing in the second half. They were just getting frustrated. They were making errors that they wouldn't usually do. And yeah, I would, yeah, I think that's a very good point as well about the Clifford thing. Like, a lot of people, and Derry would have said this in the semi-final, if you put their best man marker on David Clifford, Chrissy McCaig, you're going halfway to stopping Kerry. And Derry nearly did that. But to go the next step, you need to stop Paddy Clifford putting the supply in. And I think the thing is with Kerry, I think a lot of people would clock onto that. And I think the way that Kerry probably, make teams think about them a little bit more is if you get Dylan Gainey and Killian Burke a bit more confidence to get them to get the ball into David Clifford and Sean O'Shea, because they're well capable of it. Killian Burke's a brilliant player for Middletown Castlemaine in the club championship. Dylan Gainey performed well for Donegal, and both players have done really, really well at underage. And Killian Burke was, in particular, was hailed as kind of the messiah for Kerry football in the half forward line, in particular, where Kerry needed a good speedy player. So, like, this is a chance for Killian Burke to prove it. I know he's young, he's 20, 21 years of age, but this might be the chance for him to break through as well. So maybe in a blessing in disguise this early in the season, it might be a good thing for Kerry that they got the shock of their lives here, and they might actually prove it come the summertime. So, the thing is, if they produce perfect performance after perfect performance until the end of the league, then there might come a day in the championship with Dublin hammer them in Croke Park in, let's say, an All-Ireland semi-final. And then by then it's too late. So maybe Jack O'Connor will go back to the drawing board now, think about his mistakes, and then maybe give the belief to the likes of Dylan Gainey, the likes of Killian Burke, the likes of Joe O'Connor, who was really good, to be fair to him, in the second half, to even put quality ball into David Clifford and Sean O'Shea, and maybe take the ounce of pressure off Paddy Clifford that has been there for the last few games.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is interesting as well, especially with them playing Sean O'Shea in a full forward as well. Like, they're also cutting off a bit of a supply from where he would normally play in around the half forward line. So, yeah, look, there probably is a lot of testing things out from Jack O'Connor. I agreed with you as well. I think taking off Joe O'Connor was a little bit strange. But again, that almost reminded me of the Dublin Mayo game where Desi started taking off all our best forwards going into the final couple of minutes. It kind of does show probably where managers' heads are at times with the league. In all honesty, I know he was absolutely raging at full time and everything else, but I do think at the same time it does kind of show where managers' heads are at. Sean says Kerry beat Tyrone by 16 points in the league in 2021 and lost to them in the All-Ireland semi-final. Yeah, and it is a fair point. It is a fair point, and look, you only have to look back at the league last year where Mayo were, an absolute cloud nine. They'd won the league. Everybody was tipping them as one. Well, not everybody, just me was tipping them as the team to go all the way and win the All Ireland. And Dublin were struggling in Division 2. I know they came out of Division 2, but they didn't look particularly brilliant. And look how that turned out in the All Ireland quarterfinals. So yeah, look, it is. It is an interesting way to look at it, in fairness. Moving on then, Galway 111, Derry 310. Huge result again for Derry. 4 wins from 4. And some of the Derry fans were saying on Twitter, it's lonely at the top.
It is, and they're 4 points clear now, so it's a brilliant feeling. But what I will say about this game, it turned on one moment. Daly has a chance for Galway to stick the ball in the back of the net. He doesn't convert his chance. Derry goes straight down the other end. Kieran Malloy gets a black card. Shane McGuigan tucks away the penalty. And that's the game. And it's a game of fine margins in many ways. If Daly converts that chance for Galway, we might be talking about a different story here. But alas, Derry get over the line and a brilliant performance from them. And they look unstoppable at the moment, don't they? They have about over 15 different scores, and you wouldn't have said that about Derry in the last few seasons, especially in Division 1. You would have seen Derry as having a tight-knit group of scores, about 11 or 12 at this stage in Division 2 and Division 3. So to do it in Division 1 is really, really good from Mickey Hart. And he is giving a lot of belief to these fringe players, and he is getting the fruits out of them. So well done to Derry for getting the win. But as I said before, with Kerry, for example, like, if they keep winning these games, the test will come deeper into the championship. The acid test will come then. And that's when Derry will be massively tested. As for Galway, they're looking over their shoulder now. And it's disappointing, really, in many ways, because Galway have a really good group of players. They look to have turned the corner against Tyrone last week. But after that one moment in Salt Hill, it's now looking down for Galway. And they could easily get dragged into the relegation dogfight, especially considering the result we're going to discuss next. So yeah, it's not good for Galway at the moment. For Derry, they can't put a foot wrong.
Yeah, they definitely can't. And like, what impresses me with Derry is that they're getting scores from everywhere, whether it be Shane McGuigan, whether it be Kieran McFall, Paul Cassidy, Noel Loughlin, Brendan Rogers, Conor Glass, with some absolutely brilliant points. And I suppose, like, obviously the narrative from a lot of people, as Gaelic Guy says here, Derry are fantastic, but I think it will bite them later on in the year. But like, the thing is now is, like, they have a 4-point gap, like, over second place, so they could probably afford. And like, I'm hoping, you know, they take the shackles off now for Dublin this weekend. You know, allow Dublin to catch up with them a little bit. But yeah, like, it's looking very, very good from a Derry perspective. And what did you think of the penalty for Shane McGuigan in the second half? I mean, bit of a debate, obviously, online, like, in terms of obviously the Sunday game as well. We're saying it wasn't a penalty and everything else. They weren't entirely happy with the decision. Like, obviously a black card is given. It is outside the box, but it is deemed a goal scoring opportunity. He has already kicked the ball at that point as well. Like, so what do you think? Should that have been a penalty?
Probably not, but at the same time, Aaron, we're probably aging for consistency, in all honesty, because it's a similar incident actually in the Mayo Tyrone. I don't want to go back to the game now, but in the Mayo Tyrone game, Jordan Flynn was fouled by Cormac Quinn. He got a black card, and that was given as a penalty. For me, I don't think that's a penalty either. Could you see that as clear goal score opportunity? No, but at the same time, we need some clarity over this. What is a clear goal score opportunity and what's not? Look, we had this discussion last year during the championship. Remember the Paul Gainey and Sean Powter incident in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and remember the Niall Scully incident for Dublin and Kildare, and remember the Kevin Maguire incident for Westmeath and Tyrone. Like only one of those was given as a penalty, and to be honest, the two others that were like showed as goals for opportunities in the Powter and Gainey one. So, like, it's hard to judge. It really is. I don't know how we need, like, to be honest, out of the three that were given, the Powter and Gainey one, the two over the weekend, how are they given as penalties? And then the one with Kevin Maguire and Con Kilpatrick last year, and the one with Noel Scully wasn't given. It's just, we need a bit of clarity over this. What's a goal scoring opportunity and what's not? What do refs see in this? And yeah, it's just confusing more than anything, Aaron, because we can't make an educated guess on what is a penalty and what's not. It's just so inconsistent. And that's the frustrating thing. I know referees have a lot of pressure on them, but it can't take too much to provide a bit of clarity over this, because it's getting ridiculous at this stage. And if the clarity isn't cleared up in the next few weeks, maybe we should just ban the rule, in all honesty. Maybe a foul inside the box, simply put, is a penalty, and a foul outside is a free in, and just give the black cards and stuff and leave it to the refs' interpretation on that. But for right now, Aaron, I just don't think it's clear enough in many ways, the rule. And yeah, I think something needs to be done.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I think, yeah, I think consistency is what's needed. Like I can understand to a certain degree what a penalty is given in the Galway and Derry game to a certain extent. But at the same time, as we've said before, like there was some instances where those weren't given, and you just don't know. Like something could happen next week in another National Football League game, and you would think that should be a penalty when it isn't. But there we go. Oh, McAvoy, great goal, obviously, from him as well early on in the first half of this game. Galway had some okay moments, in fairness. Like, they are missing a lot of key players still. Yeah, what did you like? I thought Niall Daly was fairly impressive. What did you think of Galway's performance?
It was poor enough considering what they would have expected after last week's performance. And I kind of ran home the point even more. I think Galway needs Shane Walsh in the team. He's that vital to them. If they want to get even further in the championship, like, he needs to play. There's no doubt about it. Damien Comer is the same. Killian O'Corrini is a good player. Robert Finnerty scored 11 points so far, but is that enough for Galway to stay up and even go further in the championship? As of now, probably not. Like, even look at their scoring, I think even they're amongst the top 10 worst attacks across all 4 divisions. And that isn't good enough for Galway. I think I have to double check this, but I think they have the worst attack in Division 1. So that's a worry for Barrett Joyce. They need to start firing and fast. If they don't, they could be on a slippery slope to a Division 2. And what I will say about the last 3 games in particular, the Monaghan game that they do have amongst those is so vital now. If they lose or draw that, they could be in massive trouble, Galway. So what I will say about them, they need Walsh in the team, and even more importantly, they need to watch their back, or else they could be going down to Division 2 again.
Absolutely. Yeah, they could be in big trouble indeed. Derry Dublin next week. I mean, I know it's not a preview or anything like that, but that game looks like a tasty one.
It does, and considering what Dublin did to Kerry, this is another test for Dublin. Go to Derry now and produce a very good performance like he did against Kerry. And what I will say, it will be interesting to see what Mickey Hart actually puts out. Will he put out a strong team? Will he put up
I think he will,
a change? You think he'll put a strong team out?
I think he'll, like, as Jarlath was saying there, like, obviously there are still key players missing for Derry, like McKinless, and obviously Cormac Murphy maybe might be missing as well. But I think he'll go probably more or less with the same team that played against Galway, to be fair. I think so anyway. I mean, you're 4 wins in, you're coming up against another All-Ireland contender. You know, it makes no sense now to rest the team. Like, fair enough, like you probably are more or less in a league final, but you've one more win, get out there, get the job done, and then maybe after that, for the final 2 games, maybe then you can rest and rotate a little bit. But for this one, especially with the form of Dublin as well, I don't think you make too many changes, because the worry from a Derry perspective would be, with Dublin coming in great form, if they were to give Derry, let's say, a similar result to what they gave Kerry, I think, yes, fair enough and everything else, things can change once it comes to the championship. But I don't know. I just don't think that would be a great look for Derry, and it could set them back a bit.
And it could knock their confidence as well. So I think it is a very good point, in fairness. And even look at statistics I did on Twitter recently. Out of the best attack, Dublin are actually second out of the 4 divisions, and Derry are third. If you're looking for a bit of entertainment, a bit of popcorn, this is the game to go to, because both of these sides are free-flowing, both of them are attacking, and Dublin are the top 10 worst defences as well. So what it suggests to me, that Dublin, any game that Dublin's in, is really, really going to be a good game. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a cracker in Derry at the weekend. It really is. And the only team to score more than any of these 2 sides is down in Division 3. So, this is a really, really big game for the 2 of them. And it's an opportunity more than anything for Dublin to prove that the Kerry game wasn't a fluke in a way too. So, yeah, it's a big game.
Absolutely. And I'll be going to it as well. So I'm very much looking forward to it. Jarlath says, are Derry already qualified for a final? It's a 4-point gap, so mathematically they're not. But like, when you think about it, all the other teams, like, is anyone else going to get more than 8 points? I don't really think that they are. So I do think, like, they could probably lose their last 3 games and they'll probably be okay. But in terms of insurance, maybe one more win might be what is needed. Last game was Roscommon 116, Monaghan 8 points, an 11-point victory for the Rossies. Roscommon back to their best. Huge win, obviously, for Roscommon. Obviously, their first win of the season in the league. Yeah, like obviously Donny Smith was back on the side. He was very impressive. And Roscommon, like, absolutely brilliant. And I suppose from a Monaghan perspective, like, you could understand them getting beat quite comfortably by Kerry and Derry, considering they're two of the best teams in the country. But yeah, this probably isn't a great look for the Farney men.
It isn't, no, and as the Gaelic Fan TV guy said at the start of the show, Monaghan are in big trouble now. For the first time, I think, in the league campaign this year, I'm starting to doubt them. I think they might actually go down this year. Looking at the next few games, looking at their records, and even the statistics don't look good either. They have the worst defensive record across all 4 divisions, conceding a total of 8 goals and 62 points. 8 goals in 4 games. That's an average of 2 goals a game. That's worrying. Really, really worrying from a Monaghan point of view, and they need to fix that up fast, or else they're going down, and they might be going down without a fight either. So, yeah, worrying times for Monaghan, but for Roscommon, big result for them because they needed it. After what David Burke said during the week, there was a lot of comments about David Burke's post-match interview last week, and it was a tad embarrassing and things like that, but they showed a lot of people up at the weekend by beating a team that are usually up to these relegation 4-pointers. So well done to Roscommon, and a comment as well for Enda Smith. 3 points for play, 1-5 for play overall across the games that he has played for Roscommon. I think he didn't play the Tyrone game, but has played the rest. He only came on in the second game, I think. So he's only played like 2.5 games. So to get 1-5 from play is really, really impressive from midfield. And Donny Smith, as you mentioned, coming back to the team, and Darragh Craig can't do a lot wrong at the moment. Yeah, he's doing really well. Good, yeah. In the Sigerson Cup for UCD, brilliant form. Scored 9 points in the final, and he scores 6 points in this game against Monaghan. Like, he can't, like, every shot he takes nearly goes over the bar at this stage. So he's in brilliant form at the moment. And I think the key thing for Roscommon now is to follow this up with another win. If they do that, they might be more confident than they were the last few weeks of staying up in this division.
Absolutely, yeah. And I suppose it was actually 116 to 7 points. So apologies there. I was giving Monaghan even more credit than maybe they deserved. But yeah, 12 points, absolutely huge. As you said, Darragh Craig was absolutely brilliant. 6 points from him. And the Smith, very good. Donny Smith, obviously, in great form as well. Just going through some comments here. Gavin said, I think we're back. There we go. Where was I? So Gavin was saying only 1 point behind Mayo, despite the Mayo hype and Roscommon being written off. Yeah, look, I definitely think you have a chance. I definitely think you do have a strong chance. In fairness, Farney Fan TV says we had no bite. We looked like we didn't care. The lads simple flimsed about with the ball. Worst Monaghan game in a long time. Yeah, like from a Monaghan perspective, very surprising, because Monaghan usually always have, a great amount of fight. And look, they might take the odd beating every now and again in the league in Division 1. They've had a fair few down the years, but one thing you always knew about Monaghan is that they would bounce back after one of them, and they would have a way to respond. And I know they're missing players and everything else, but yeah, Jesus, that was an awful pace.
It was a worrying game more than anything for Monaghan, because this is the sort of game that you think they're going to get up for, if anything. Like Kerry and Derry, they might have just brushed out on the carpet. It's another game. They're one of the top sides in the country, but this is the main one now against Roscommon. Aside, they're probably favourites to go down alongside themselves, Tyrone or whoever. And they capitulated. There's no other way of describing it. And it was really, really poor for that stat in particular for the worst defence. For an Ulster team as well is really, really poor. It's unexpected in many ways. So they need to fix up and fast, but to give them some slack, they're missing Conor McManus, they're missing their main players. Roy Beggin's gone to NFL. You have Kieran Hughes retiring. You have a few other players retiring over the last few seasons. Conor McCarthy hasn't played much this season. So you might cut Monaghan a bit of slack there, but at the same time, you'd expect a side managed by Vinnie Corey or Banty McEnany or whoever's the Monaghan manager to get up for this sort of game. And they just didn't. They froze. And that was the main thing to take away from Monaghan. It was just disappointing. But they have 3 more games now to save their season, particularly against Galway. I think they might target that as a potential win. They have other games as well. I think they have Mayo as well in the amongst the last 3 games. And the other game I'm trying to think off the top of my head, I can't right now, but like that's going to be a difficult run in for Monaghan, and they have to win something soon, or they might be going down.
Absolutely, absolutely. And before we move on to Division 2, we'll have a look at the Division 1 table. Or we will have the updated table in a few moments. But in terms of relegation, like what are you thinking there? Like Monaghan, I suppose obviously things aren't looking too good for them at the minute.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Monaghan. I know it's a mistake, it's tough to back against them, but after that performance at the weekend, against probably one of the sides that are weakest in Division 1, it's really, really poor from them. So I'm gonna back Monaghan to go down. The other team, it could easily be Galway. I'm gonna stick my hat out. I'm gonna go Roscommon for this one. I still think there's a potential in Galway. Looking at the performance last week against Tyrone in particular. So I'm gonna go Roscommon slightly into just Division 4, but yeah, I'm gonna so Monaghan and 2 points. Yeah, there's one. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. There's 1 point separating 2nd and 7th, which is incredible, Art. I don't think that's it probably has happened in Division 1 to be fair, but that's incredible. Points difference. But Mayo could be dragged into it. I know they had a good start. 4 points now. They're only 1 point off safety. So I don't know. They could get dragged into it. Tyrone, they'll have to do a lot of work. I'd be confident Kerry will stay up. So I'm going to say Roscommon right now. I'm going to go for Roscommon to be the other team. But it doesn't look good for Monaghan, as you mentioned, and they probably will be going down.
Who do you think at this point joins Derry in the league final?
Tough one. Look at Dublin's performance the last day. I'm going to go for Dublin, but slightly. And then again, it depends who takes the league seriously in the last 3 games too, Aaron. You have to see. But for right now, I'm going to go for Dublin, considering the capitulation they inflicted on Kerry on Saturday.
Yeah. It'd be tough though, like going away to Derry, away to Galway, home to Tyrone. But look, especially after our recent performances, you would certainly have to say we're in a very, very good position. And look, if we can go and turn over Derry at the weekend, that'll be absolutely huge. Gaelic Guys says Dublin Derry league final, Mayo Monaghan relegation. There we go. So yeah, we'll move on to Division 2. Armagh 1-9. Donegal 12 points. Maybe wasn't the spectacle maybe that we hoped for. I think there was a lot of shadow boxing and everything else. Obviously, Rian O'Neill coming back into the fold for Armagh late on as well. And he does obviously kick a late point, doesn't prove to be the winner. Yeah, this was I suppose an interesting finish towards the end. Donegal had a couple of big chances themselves as well. What were your thoughts here?
Yeah, in many ways, probably a missed opportunity for Donegal. I was hearing actually Oisin Gannon missed a penalty. I don't know, is that true? And the football pod. So, that's a big. That was a big opportunity for Donegal. But I think this game was more, in the headlines for not the stuff on the pitch. Well, to be fair, Rian O'Neill coming back is big enough. But Archie Bargy on the sideline, McKeer McGeeney and Jim McGuinness, we know the history there. We know all the stuff that went on in 2011. So there was always going to be a fight there. And yeah, it proved to be that way. And Jim McGuinness was kind of having a laugh with us off the ball at the end of the game too. So yeah, it was a game that epitomised that these two sides are similar trajectories in many ways. Both of them have good players. Both of them have good coaches. And both of them are on the right step to recovery to get out of Division 2 and into Division 1. So even game, honours even. And Yeah, it was but the thing is, what I worry about Donegal in particular, they are making strides under Jim McGuinness, there's no doubt about it. But 8 points between Oisin Gallen and Paddy by priority once again in this game. That might be a worry for Donegal moving forward. It might be only small, but it might just be a worry going into the Ulster Championship, in particular in the quarterfinal against Derry. What if one of them players gets injured? That's going to be the worry for Donegal and moving into tougher opposition. So just a small little bit of worry for Donegal, maybe a bit of worry for Armagh too, but a lot of RG, very even game. But ultimately, it was a draw, and I wouldn't be surprised to see these two sides battle it out in Croke Park come the end of the month.
Yeah, who do you think will be happier with the draw? Like it's looking likely both of these get promoted. So in terms of the outcome of the league, it probably won't matter too much in that kind of sense. But in terms of which side do you think will be leaving happier?
Despite the missed penalty, I actually think Donegal might, because of the fact that Armagh have to play Cavan, and we'll get on to Cavan later. They're chomping at the bit at the moment, and they have a game against Armagh up soon. If Cavan produce a good performance there, Armagh could be caught in the hop. So I think Donegal would be the happier. They got the point they needed. They just had to, calm down the last 3 games, win them all, and they're into a league final. It's simple as that. Whereas Armagh are under a bit of pressure now going to that Cavan game, despite performing well in the league thus far.
Yeah, Gaelic Guy says here, shadow boxing, but I'm definitely happy with the point from an Armagh perspective. Gavin says from a Cavan perspective, you would have hoped for a Donegal win, but that game between Cavan and Armagh is a massive promotion playoff. It is. It's absolutely huge, and as you said, like if Cavan can get a win there, that would be huge. Like I would probably still fancy Armagh ever so slightly, but I think Raymond Galligan has got Cavan motoring really, really well. To have 3 wins from 4 so far. Obviously, the narrow defeat to Donegal as well. So they have been looking very, very good in fairness. Moving on to Fermanagh and Cork. Fermanagh 16 points, Cork 114. You're a happy man anyway? No more rants?
Yeah. You'd be tired of it. I got sick of it over the last few weeks, but it's just great to get a win. And it didn't look that way going to stoppage time.
Oh.
Fermanagh looked to, going into it. And then Mar Shanley, the cornerback, comes in off the bench and gets the goal. And fair play to them. And what I will say, fair play to the players. A lot of flack went their way over the last few weeks from me, from all the Cork media and down south. But they dragged out a win here in a tough place like a Downey. And fair play to them to get the win out of it. Brian Hurley getting 8 points. Fair play to him for that. You've Conor Corbett, and what I would say about Conor Corbett, Aaron, once he's back in the team now, you see the Cork are kind of a different outfit going in the forwards. He seemed to move the Fermanagh defenders a lot in this game. So it was great to see him back in form. And the point he took, it's available in the Gaelic corner, this video of Conor Corbett scoring a sideline. Unbelievable score. And it definitely, helped us to get the win in the end. And yes, Stephen Sherlock coming on and doing his bit. Matty Taylor performed well particularly in that second half. But what I would say from a Fermanagh point of view, they performed so well in this game, and they had the opportunity through Shane McGowan running straight through on goal. If all he has to do is fist the ball over the bar, and Fermanagh are 2 points up and cruising home to victory. In the end, he takes the shot on for goal, saved by Chris Kelly. Cork goes straight down the other end. Mar Shanley scores the goal. I think Fermanagh were really, really good in this game. There was a lot of good spells from the Fermanagh team. Garvin Jones and Sean Cassidy in particular were really, really good for them. And Ross Bogue and Sean McNally, the 2 goalkeepers amongst this game, were really, really good in nets and denied Cork a load of goals to great opportunities. It was kind of the same situation for Cork, not taking their goal chances. But what I will say about Fermanagh, despite the brilliant performance from them, they'll be feeling absolutely sick after this. Because now what it does, it drags them back into the relegation dogfight. Cork play Kildare now next week. I'm saying an if now. If Cork go ahead and beat Kildare, and Fermanagh's game against Armagh, and Armagh are up there hoping to get promoted. So it doesn't look good for Fermanagh at this particular moment in time, despite them playing so well and improved themselves over the last few weeks. But ultimately, it is a loss. You nearly feel sorry for them. But ultimately, Cork got over the line. It's a much needed win. And maybe it's the win to kickstart the confidence of these players, because they definitely needed it over the last few weeks. And to get the win, it's massive for John Cleary and these players. But what I will say, the Kildare game now next Sunday in Páirc Uí Chaoimh is massive. If you lose that, you could be going out. If you win that, not only will you send Kildare down to Division 3, but you might be going ahead and surviving in Division 2 for another season, and the Samagora Cup as well. So, yeah, it's amazing the difference a week if week those aren't. But yeah, we're looking quite good now. But then again, I could be back next week ranting about the Kildare game, so we'll have to see.
Yeah, Killian says here, Fermanagh could still go down. Can't see them beating Armagh or Cavan, and Louth will probably beat them as well. Yeah, all of a sudden, and that was the thing, because if Fermanagh had won this, they would have been 5 points in front of you. And that, I think, with 3 games to go, I don't think you're clawing a 5-point gap back. And I think, I think you would have been done and dusted. So absolutely huge win, no doubt about it. Gavin says massive win for Cork, the 5th most recent All-Ireland winner in the Tailteann would be insane. It certainly would be, yeah. Fermanagh in trouble, but crucial win for Cork. Is there an argument, though, at the same time that, going into the couple of minutes, Fermanagh were in front, and obviously you get that goal, you get a couple of points as well. Fermanagh get a couple of other points to sort of pull it back. But, is there an argument maybe that, because, if you had lost this game and you hadn't got that goal, you certainly wouldn't have been happy in terms of the result and everything else. So, is there an argument really that maybe Cork got away with it a little bit?
There is, but at the same time, maybe these players need a bit of luck going their side as well. The way we have been playing over the last few weeks, don't get me wrong, has not been good enough before the Fermanagh game. But what these players did show in the last few weeks, particularly against Cavan in Páirc Uí Chaoimh and Fermanagh, they showed fight. Even when things were going wrong, they were showing a bit of fight. And they had a few goal-scoring opportunities, missed them. Brilliant saves from Sean McNally and Ross Bogue. But this plugged away at it. And they needed, I know it wasn't the prettiest goal in the world, the Maurice Shanley goal. Anybody could have got it. It was a high dropping ball in. He fisted the ball home. And that could have easily dropped into the hands of Ross Bogue and been cleared out of the area. But the fact that Morris put the hand on it and put it in the back of the net, maybe it's a bit of luck that these players need. And a bit of confidence too, because the confidence would have been shot over the last few weeks. Even, Owen McSweeney's goal chance against Cavan, a few other chances against Louth. When they don't go in, the players start to doubt themselves. But once a chance goes in, like the scrappy goal that Maurice Shanley scored at the weekend, maybe things will start to turn. So maybe that's a positive, that we are getting wins, even when we performed badly enough against Fermanagh. But the main thing was the win. We got out with the win. But what we need to do now next week is back it up and beat Kildare next week. That's the massive aim for these Cork players. And what I will say about our fixture list as well, we've Kildare, we've Meath, we've Armagh. We have a huge opportunity to stay up now. It's in our hands. We have to go and take it. And as well as that, not just Fermanagh, Louth are on 2 points. And they've Donegal away next week as well. I know we'll get on to Louth in a sec, but that's a big win for Cork. It really is a big win. And it slightly raises the pressure a small bit off John Cleary and the players. But they have to beat Kildare next week. But this last weekend's win over Fermanagh is a good start.
Absolutely. And we'll mention Kildare in just a couple of minutes' time. But first, it was Cavan. It was Louth 3-9, Cavan 2-13. Massive win for Cavan. Bit of a mad game this. Cavan finishing with 13 men, Louth finishing with 14 men. Goals left, right, and centre. Plenty of drama. A shame we didn't get to see any of this, like on the Sunday game or anything like that. A little bit bizarre, in all honesty. And yeah, like the fact they didn't show any Division 3 or 4 highlights as well was a bit of a joke. But sure, look, I mean, at the same time though, yeah, it's just a shame we didn't get to see any of it, because this sounds like a cracking game.
It does, yeah, and I think RT would make the comment that RT doesn't have the camera equipment or whatever, and make up some ridiculous excuse over this. It's a shame. It really is a shame, because this was a big game for both sides. Because if Cavan won this game, they're still in the promotion hunt. Louth needs to win this game to take pressure off Joe Brennan a small bit and going ahead and surviving. But looking at how it unfolded on Scorpio in particular, I think Louth will feel absolutely sick after this. They really will. It's not a thing that they played badly or whatever. It's the fact they lost the game while being a man up, and the fact they were a point up as well going into the last few minutes. They'll feel absolutely gutted at the weekend. It's a big win for Cavan, huge. And even to get those goals, they didn't score a goal in the previous 3 games. So to get 2 goals in this game will give the forwards a lot of confidence, particularly James Smith and George Smith, who scored the goals in this. But for Louth, it's a big loss. And considering they've Donegal next week in Ballybuffet and Cork are playing Kildare at home, like Louth could be dragged back into this now. And it looks so rosy in the garden in match day 2. But ultimately, it changed. And the thing is as well, with Louth, and the football pod lad mentioned this, huge shout out to them. The games they have lost, a point against Cavan, a point against Armagh, and 2 points against Meath. They have been close. No doubt they've been close. They've been giving it their all. But again, it could be a similar situation like Clare last season, couldn't it? They perform well in the mid-table game, and then in the games that they might have, by the scruff of the neck, they just failed to get over the line last few minutes, and ultimately might end in relegation. I might be wrong now, but and then again, they could beat Fermanagh. That game against Fermanagh is actually huge in the next few weeks. They have them in RD, so they have to, if they win that game, I think they might be safe. But yeah, it's a big few weeks now for Joe Brennan and Louth if they want to stay up in this division. But as for Cavan, they're putting the pressure on Armagh. They've done absolutely outstanding. 6 points out of a possible 8. Paddy Lynch scoring a total of 30 points in Division 2 is a ridiculous record. And Raymond Gallagher, what a job he's doing at the start of the season. So all plaudits to Cavan, but for Louth, while performing well in this game, they'll feel absolutely gutted for getting nothing out of it.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, and to be fair, like I think I've seen enough from Louth in the games. Like I think they obviously have to play Donegal, but Fermanagh, as you said, at home, Kildare, they still have to play as well. And considering Kildare's form, you would fancy Louth as well. So I think they will still be okay. I would look more so at Cork and I think Kildare are already gone, but I think between Cork and Fermanagh, I think it would be one of them two. I think that will go down. I think Louth have shown enough, because I was watching the Louth Meath game a couple, 2 weeks ago, and I thought they did more than enough, in my opinion, to win that game. But as you said, they just can't quite get over the line in some of these matches, which I suppose is affecting them. But Cavan, as you said, like absolutely flying. Paddy Lynch in extraordinary form, 8 points in the games. You said Jared Smith and James Smith getting the goals as well. Could Cavan do it? Like could they potentially get promoted?
Anything's possible. If they put their mind, they're going to. They could even put up a good performance against Armagh, but that's the beauty about the league, isn't it? Because Armagh performed brilliantly so far in Division 2, but they could be caught on the hop in the next few weeks because Cavan have performed well themselves. This is what makes it so intriguing in the next few weeks. But I know we'll get on to Meath later, Aaron, but you can't count out Meath either. They're on 5 points, and they still have Donegal. So it's going to be an interesting next few weeks. I know Donegal and Armagh have looked clear enough in the last few weeks, but don't call out Meath and the Cavan. And what I will say about these two sides, they're playing each other next weekend. Whoever wins that is on a serious charge towards promotion next few weeks. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting game next week, Aaron.
Absolutely, yeah, and there's certainly no love lost between Cavan and Meath down the years as well. Bit of an old rivalry, that one. So yeah, should be a good one, definitely. Hopefully it's on the TV as well, because I know a lot of Cavan fans, and our good friend Mr. John McMahon certainly isn't too happy with Cavan not really getting shown ever. And I don't think they're getting shown again next week, are they? Because I don't think I've seen the game being advertised.
I don't think there is. No. I think the 2 games that are advertised are Armagh, Fermanagh, and Cork and Kildare. So sorry, John. It's a shame, but look.
They'll probably have to show Cavan Armagh. Surely they'll have to show that, but yeah, not ideal. Me 12 points, Kildare 9 points. Not a particularly great game. Couple of injuries maybe for Kildare that could worry them moving forward as well. Meath just about getting over the line. It was like Kildare had moments where they went in front, but obviously a couple of late points towards the end of the game from a Meath perspective was enough. Owen Frayne getting 3 points, Matthew Costello with 2, Cathal Hickey also on the score sheet there as well. Big win for Meath. Do you know, one thing I give Meath credit for is that they're digging out wins when they're not particularly playing well, which you wouldn't normally associate with Meath in recent years. So that's definitely, I think, something you have to give them a lot of credit for.
And even the draw against Fermanagh, they performed terribly enough in Park Charlton that day, and they still got a point out of it. So they're doing well. They are really doing well, and this is one of the few predictions I did get right in the league this season. I said Meath would be a dark horse, and they're looking that way at the moment. They're looking really, really strong. Like even Dark Hampion, I'm hearing, is putting up some very good performances. And the forward line in particular of Matthew Costello, Shane Walsh, and Owen Frayne are clicking. And that's the main thing. Rory Kinsella came off the bench as well and did really well at the Sigurdsson Cup for Mayo University. He's still Jordan Morris there as well. And Conor Bray in midfield. So Meath look really, really strong, particularly on the spine. And they are digging up performances that you mentioned there. So all looking good for me. But for Kildare, the thing is they performed well enough in this game. They did enough nearly to win it. But the main thing is they got nothing out of it. And I heard of a source there that Tyrone went off injured in the first half. You had other players, Daniel Flynn didn't look fully fit either. And that's not good for Kildare going to a relegation dogfight. And it doesn't look good for them. But I will say about Kildare, compared to the first 3 games in the league, they showed fight here. They showed a lot of fight. But ultimately, they were 9 points apiece with 5 minutes to go in normal time. They didn't close out even a draw on this. So, yeah, it's a tough one to take, tough pill to swallow for Kildare. But then again, they could rock up to Páirc Uí Chaoimh next week and beat them. And Seamus made a very good comparison, actually, in terms of this game happening on Sunday. That Kildare are almost like a Rottweiler, and Cork are almost like a person just walking past. If the Rottweiler gets woken up, they are going to be dangerous because they have players like Daniel Flynn and Kevin Feely to change games. But if they stay sleeping, then Cork will easily get past them. So it all depends on next week. Kildare have to produce it. But the thing is about Kildare, whatever about Cork, from a Kildare point of view, they have to produce a good performance next week. They have to win it. If they do not win it, I don't think it's mathematically that we are, but I think they're down. I think they're down if they lose to Cork next week. But they might be down already, but I'm not. But they're definitely down if they lose to Cork. And what I will say, since 2018, across the Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3, only one team has survived having 0 points on the board after match day 4, and that's Offaly in 2018. Can Kildare be the second team to do that? So it's going to be a big few weeks for Glenn Ryan and his players. And one thing I will say, Colm O'Rourke at the post-match interview was really, really good to Glenn Ryan. He was saying that he's a main guy in Kildare football. He should be given a lot of slack. And that was great to see from a manager, in fairness. Like, his side are going really well at the moment. But for him to give plaudits to Glenn Ryan like that, I think that was really classy from a classy guy in Colm O'Rourke.
Yeah, and I suppose Kieran McGeeney was very praiseful of Glenn Ryan as well. So yeah, look, I mean, obviously not having the best time of it right now, that goes without question. And yeah, like I think from a Kildare perspective, certainly a lot of improvements are needed. I suppose we'll look at the Division 2 table then before we move on to Division 3. So Armagh, Donegal with 7 points, Cavan with 6, Meath in 4th with 5 points, Fermanagh in 5th with 3 points, Louth in 6th with 2 points, Cork in 7th with 2 points, and Kildare in 8th with 0 points. So, like, you're looking at it there, like, no, like, Kildare definitely won't catch Meath. So, like, you're looking at that bottom 4 as who maybe will go down. Just very hard to see Kildare stay up from there. Who would you say would go down looking at that?
I'm thinking Kildare at the moment, but they need to produce a good performance next week or else they're down already if they aren't. So it's a big game for Kildare next week. But the second team is a tough one, but I'm going to go for Fermanagh right as of now. And they've been brilliant in Division 2 so far, but looking at their fixtures, they've Louth away, which is a tough game. That's almost like a relegation 4-pointer in itself. They still have to play Cavan, and they still have to play Armagh next week. So that's a tough fixture list for them. Whereas Cork looks kind when you look at the next 3. They have Kildare, who will they show a fight next week? It remains to be seen. Meath at in Partalton. Look, you'd be hoping from a Cork point of view that Cavan actually beat Meath, so Meath probably have nothing to play for. come into that game. And Armagh, the last game, and that's a good time actually to play Armagh because they could be already up at that point and they could come down to Cork playing team. So, yeah, I'm going to go for Fermanagh right as of now, but I'm basing that on the fixtures that each side have. And that Fermanagh Low game is huge now in context of going down to Division 3.
Absolutely, yeah. Because like if Fermanagh win that, then like I suppose, yeah, like obviously it could blow it completely wide open then as well. Like Louth still having to play Kildare as well. So like that's the thing, I suppose. Like Kildare obviously sitting there with 0 points, but they still have to play the likes of Louth and Cork, who are obviously in this as well. So they might still be able to potentially drag themselves out of it, but we shall wait and see. Moving on to Division 3, Down 4-12, Offaly 2-14. Very, very good result there from a Down perspective. Another huge win. Liam Kerr with 2 goals. Pat Havern getting 6 points. 2 standout players there. Yeah, huge win for Down. 4 defeats from 4 for Offaly, so not so good there. But another big result from Down in terms of scoring-wise. Like they're putting up some scores at the minute.
And they have the best attack across all 4 divisions, and that's not a surprise, really. They are really looking good at the moment. And compared, we'll talk about Westmeath in a sec, but compared to Westmeath, Down look absolutely serious. They're absolutely blitzing teams in this division. And right as of now, like Conor Lafferty's team look really, really good. And it's just a shame from their point of view that Armagh look really good this season, and they're on the same side of the Ulster draw as them. But it's just a shame that it's just the quality of Ulster, isn't it? But Down look really, really serious. Like Liam Kerr, as you mentioned, Daniel Guinness did well at the start of the league campaign. Pat Havern or Murdoch scored 1-1 in this game, I think, as well. So, yeah, they look a serious proposition to go up. And if they aren't mathematically up already, I think they're up more or less. They look a really, really threatening prospect. And, yeah, I find it hard to believe anybody will stop them in Division 3 at this rate.
Yeah, like the amount they're putting up is incredibly dangerous, in fairness. And as Gavin says here, under 20 winners in 2021 Offaly is very disappointing. Yeah, like because I've seen a stat like with the amount of players that Roscommon have actually introduced since that under 20 final, and obviously Offaly have introduced a fair few as well. But yeah, like it just doesn't seem to be clicking on Offaly at the minute.
It doesn't, and that's a bit of a surprise in many ways because Offaly do have good players. Like even Keith O'Neill scored 1-2 the other day. Jack Bryan has scored 1-5. Corbett Egan's coming back into the team. You have Declan Kelly there as manager. So I'm actually not sure what is going on. Like I don't know, is it a county board issue? Is it a players issue? Well, to be honest, I don't think it's a players issue, because you look at the talent there. Jack Bryan, Cormac Egan, Keith O'Neill, John Furlong, Anton Sullivan. There are some quality players there. So how is it all falling apart? I'm actually not sure. But then again, the saving grace for them is that Wicklow and Limerick are just as bad as them in this league. So the wins probably stay up. But it's a worrying sign for Offaly even going into the Leinster Championship if they're going to keep performing like this.
Yeah, it's interesting because you mentioned earlier about statistics saying that only one team has ever stayed up after finishing with 0 points after 4 games. You've actually got 3 teams in this division all with 0 points. So one of them will obviously by default survive. So yeah, it is kind of mad to think Offaly with 4 games, 4 defeats. You would think they should be gone, but I still think they will stay up. And it is interesting, like Declan Kelly's obviously their manager. He was the man in charge when they won that under 20 All-Ireland. It's one of them, like, has he taken the job too soon? Potentially, is it just a bad run of form? We don't really know. They've obviously had a couple of tough games. The likes of Clare, the likes of they've obviously had to play Westmeath and Down as well. So they have had a couple of tough games against good teams, in fairness. And I would still back them to turn it around at some point. Westmeath beat Limerick 14 points to 1-8. Like a lot of people, including myself, yourself, like coming into this was a sure thing. Westmeath were going to win this comfortably. I remember keeping an eye on this in Scorpio, and like Limerick had moments in this. And like to be fair to Westmeath, they just about got over the line in the end, and Limerick got a goal at the end, maybe, which was a consolation, but. Yeah, like Westmeath just about getting over the line. That's the thing with Westmeath. They've started obviously well, and they're they've done almost as well as Down in terms of points and everything else. But in terms of margin of victories, it hasn't been as impressive.
And the thing is as well, in the last 2 weeks, they kind of robbed Clare in that game in Mullingar as well. So they haven't been putting teams away. That's a worrying sign, I'd imagine, for Desi Dolan and his team. There are some good scores. Obviously, Ronan O'Toole scored 3 points from playing this game. But you have to give credit for Limerick as well, Aaron, because like a lot of doubt would have seeped into that Limerick team after losses against Sligo, against other teams as well, 0 points on the board. But this might be the kind of game to kickstart a fight in them. And considering the way Offaly lost against Down, they were way behind in that game, might give Limerick a bit of hope in surviving this. And they still have Wicklow and Offaly to play as well. So maybe there's a bit of hope in Limerick come the end of the league campaign, considering they push Westmeath all the way. I think they have Wicklow and Offaly in the last 2 games. They have Clare next and Rockhill next week. So like it's going to be a difficult one for Jimmy Lee's side. But the main thing is, like, for Limerick, they don't necessarily have brilliant threatening forwards, threatening goal scorers. Like Danny Neville left the panel in the last 2 seasons. Owen Hurley from Newcastle West has come into it. He scored a hat-trick in the county final, but hasn't really clicked for him as of yet. But it might click for him in the next few weeks. You never know. And this might be the result or the game to maybe kickstart their season in a way that they can't produce these sorts of performances. But it is worrying to an extent for Westmeath that they are only beating these sides by as slim as the margins in many ways, considering Down are absolutely pummeling them. So it might be food for thought for Desi Dolan.
Yeah, Gaelic Guy says Westmeath are unconvincing in Division 3, but I think they will still win every game except Down. Yeah, look, I think Westmeath and Down should still have enough. But there are some teams that are creeping up. One of them is Sligo. They beat Antrim 120 to 113. Yeah, Sligo have been very impressive so far in Division 3. You'd have to say 3 wins from 4 as well. I think they still have to play Westmeath as well, so they still have more than enough of a chance to get promoted. Noel Murphy, 8 points. Pat Spillane Jr. getting on the score sheet. Sean Carabine getting on the score sheet. Keane Lally with a goal in there as well. 7-point win, and they hadn't really been too high scoring up until this point, up until this game. So, yeah, a lot to be positive for from a Sligo perspective.
And they still have to play Down as well. They have to play Down, Westmeath, and I think they have to play Offaly as well. So they might fancy their chances against Offaly, but the 2 other sides, it's in their hands, Sligo. And Tony McAtee is doing a good job there. Keane Lally obviously getting the goal there. Pat Spillane Jr. is performing well. Sean Carabine and Noel Murphy, as usual, are performing well. But the difference between Sligo and Offaly is quite contrasting. Like, you look at Offaly's underage success in 2021, winning the All-Ireland. Sligo's underage success getting to the under-20 final last season. There's obviously a few players that have made the step up into the senior team for Sligo, including the likes of Jack Lavin. So I think Sligo would be very happy with the development of their team in many ways, and they performed well in the All-Ireland last season. And they're still in the hunt. There's no doubt about that. As for Antrim, after a good start, it's probably trickled into mid-table nothingness in many ways. It's disappointing for them, but maybe it's probably an indication where Antrim football is at, and maybe they're just bouncing back down to reality.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think maybe after the opening 2 wins, maybe it was a bit of a bit of a false sort of start in some ways. Like, obviously huge wins, huge win against the likes of Limerick, for example. But yeah, absolutely huge that from a Sligo perspective. Clare, they beat Wicklow 215 to 8 points. Another huge win for Clare, considering obviously the amount of men that they missing at the start of the year. Still an outside chance of Clare maybe to get promotion as well. And this was a big result against Wicklow, in fairness.
And they have to play Down as well. So, like, I know Down are really, really good at the moment, but there's still a possibility. And considering Clare are in this, there's every chance. And what I will say, the 11 players that are missing for Clare, there are players that have stepped up. Emmett McMahon in particular, and Aaron Griffin have done really, really well in that forward line. So they've taken up the mantle from Keelan Sexton and Owen Cleary really, really well. And I know both of them players are really, really good, and I've seen them over the last 2 seasons. Akeem Oguaru is a really, really good player, and he's very versatile as well. So Clare are doing well. There's no doubt about it, even without the 11 players and Colin Collins. And Mark Fitzgerald, flawless to him. 6 points on the board out of possible 8. Could have been 8 out of 8 if that decision went their way against Westmeath. So they are doing well. They are really doing well, and maybe unexpected. As for Wicklow, it's maybe a step too far for them, and that's what I thought at the start of the season for them. And it looks like they're going back down, unfortunately.
Absolutely, good, great win for Clare. Obviously, Cormac Murray 2 goals and a point in there as well. So even some of the fresher faces they're introducing into their team seem to be doing the business. In fairness, so yeah, Gaelic Guys is Clare still in it. They absolutely are. They absolutely are. Looking at the Division 3 table, down in Westmeath with 8 points. It's an interesting division, this, because you've had no draws and you've 3 teams all down at the bottom with 0 wins and 4 defeats. But yeah, you've Down in first with 8 points, Westmeath in second with 8 points, Clare in third with 6 points, Sligo in fourth with 6 points, Antrim in fifth with 4 points, and Offaly, Wicklow, and Limerick all with nothing. Obviously, Offaly, Wicklow, and Limerick all have to play each other over the next couple of weeks, so you'd imagine one of these teams will start picking up points somewhere. Who do you think, looking at the bottom 3, who goes down there, do you think?
I'm sticking with Wicklow and Limerick. I said at the start of the season I'm going to go for them. And Offaly, there has to be a kick in them. There's no doubt about it. So, yeah, I'll go for them too.
And in terms of promotion?
Yeah, I'm going to go down to Westmeath. Like I said, at the start of the season, they look really, really good at the moment. But what I will say, it's still in Sligo's hands in particular, and Clare's. So, like, they could cause a shock against one of the big 2.
Absolutely. Moving on to Division 4. This was a standout game here. Carlow 2-14, Leitrim 1-16. I don't know if you've seen Colm Hulton's goal right at the end of this. An absolute, I don't know how that goal hasn't been mentioned more. Yeah, what a result for Carlow, and heartbreaking for Leitrim in many ways, because if they had got over the line here, I think they would have finally gotten out of this division. But again, it's just in those final moments where this seems to happen with Leitrim time and time again. And yeah, huge result for Carlow, and it probably puts them in the driving seat now to come up with Laois.
One thing I will say, Aaron, it's brilliant that these county boards are taking initiative and showing these goals in particular. That Colm Hulton goal wouldn't have been seen if it wasn't put up by KCLR and Carlow J. So fair play to them to put that goal up, and the fan reaction was outstanding. And yeah, it's just a shame that League Sunday can't have initiative thinking or whatever and put these goals up, despite it is online for them. It's free media. Put it up on their show. Like, I don't get what's the issue with that, but regardless of ranting and stuff like that, that's a brilliant goal by Colm Hulton. And the way Carlow scored it as well, they took the ball in their own half, needing a goal in the last minute, go up through the field. And Colm Hulton has a lot to do there to finish it. And what a finish it was. A really, really good goal. And you could see the emotion for the Carlow players at the end of it. And they could be on the road to promotion now, considering they've already played Laois before. Leitrim still have to play Laois as well. So yeah. Carlow are in the driving seat. So brilliant result for them. As for Leitrim, yeah, it's a kick in the teeth. But at the same time, they beat Wexford in the last minute last week. They suffered the same fate in the opposite direction this week. So, yeah, those are the margins.
Yeah, Gavin says here, probably need a Saturday and a Sunday show. I mean, we had a Saturday show last year, so what happened? Did they just bin it off, or?
It's just for the championship.
Just for the championship. I mean, yeah. But the crazy thing is, you've more games in the league, so it would make more sense. It would make some more sense to run it in the Saturday, you know.
Aaron, RT never makes sense.
No.
So it's like. No, it's just ridiculous at this point. Like even at the RT podcast, they're very good, and Jackie Hurley talks well, and Rory O'Neill, in fairness. But even they don't even have time to discuss Division 3 and Division 4 games on those whenever I watch them. So yeah, it's just a shame. It is a real shame, considering the performances of Down in Division 3, of Carlow in Division 4, Laois in Division 4 as well. It's just a shame. It really is. And yeah. You have to listen to us ramble about them without even watching the games, with watching clips and whatever. So, yeah, that's the way the GA has gone, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's not that hard as well. Like, there's enough reports out there. There's enough information out there, at least with football anyway, in the lower divisions, where you can find out information and actually still have a bit of a sense of how some of these games went. Tipperary 1-7, Laois 11 points. Laois just about getting over the line, maybe a little bit closer than people expected. Paul Kingston with late winner there. But yeah, Laois 4 wins from 4, and especially when you look at the remaining games like Waterford and London are 2, and obviously Leitrim as well. So like Laois are promoted. There's absolutely no doubt about that now.
Yeah, and they're going back to where they probably should be at the very least in Division 3. And brilliant result for Laois. I know they didn't perform well enough in this game, but they got over the line. And that Paul Kingston last minute score to win it was vital for them to get over the line. And now, as you mentioned there, London Waterford, that's a guaranteed 4 points. And yeah, Laois are on the way up. As for Tipperary, they're disappointed defeat despite a decent performance.
Yeah, and then the last 2 games, Longford 3-12, London 1-12, and Wexford 21 points. Waterford 1-7. Back-to-back wins for Longford, which is huge from a perspective of Paddy Christie. Albeit you would have expected them to beat Waterford, you would have expected them to beat London, and yeah, pretty damning, pretty huge win there for Wexford. 11-point win versus Waterford as well. Any thoughts on either of them games?
It's just probably epitomises how far Waterford are in particular back. They just don't have the resources. There's no doubt about that. And even though you mentioned at the start of the season, Roy Luby, their best footballer in the full back line in particular, went to play for the Hurlers. And that epitomises where Waterford football is right now. And it's just a shame. It's just a shame for them. Good result for Wexford, but for Waterford, where are they going to get a win? After a good performance last week against Longford, they're down back to square one again. So yeah, unfortunate for them. As for Longford, yeah, good confidence booster to win 2 games in a row like that. Yeah, against 2 poor enough sides in Waterford and London, but still they needed their promotion charge back on track. And yeah, in fairness to them, they have done that in the last 2 games.
Absolutely, yeah. This is Division 4 table. So Laois are on top there with 8 points. Carlow in second with 6 points. Leitrim in third with 6 points. Longford fourth with 4 points. Wexford fifth with 4 points. Tipperary sixth with 3 points. London are seventh with just a point, and Waterford are sitting bottom with 0. Looking at it there, I mean, Laois are promoted. You think Carlow now have the edge?
I think so, yeah. Longford might make a late surge as well, but I'm going to go for Carlow considering they don't have to play Laois again. Leitrim do, so I'm going to go for Carlow to join Laois in the final in Croke Park.
Yeah, like I backed Leitrim at the beginning, but you're looking at it now and you're thinking it's going to be tough for them after that defeat. In fairness, and yeah, huge result for Carlow, and fair play to Colm Hulton, obviously Ballymun Kickham's footballer in the day as well. So yeah, fair play to him. In terms of player of the week and moment of the week, what would you think?
Player of the week, I'm going to go for Conor O'Callaghan. I don't think that's any surprise. 3-4 in a game is absolutely outstanding, but special mention to Darren McCurry and Darragh Canavan for Tyrone as well. Moment of the week, it has to be that Colm Hulton goal, and that being shown online. I'm going to go for that. It's just an unreal goal, brilliant time to get it, and a crucial goal for Carlow in Division 4.
Absolutely, yeah. I think I'd probably agree with you there as well. Yeah, I think Con player of the week, 3 goals, 4 points. You can't really bet against that. Darren McCurry, excellent. Darragh Canavan equally very, very good from a Tyrone perspective as well. Dara Craig very, very good for Roscommon. But yeah, I think I'd go with Con as the player of the week. And in terms of moment of the week, yeah, I'd probably look towards that Colm Hulton goal, or do you know what, Dublin beating Kerry by 10 points, because it doesn't happen very often. In fairness, Gaelic Guy says, as an Armagh fan, Blaine Hughes penalty save. Yeah, that was huge, absolutely huge. Gavin, if you look at the success of Waterford ladies, it's mad the men can't win a game. Yeah, that's just how it is sometimes. And yeah, unfortunately for Waterford, they've just been on this spectrum for a long time, really. But yeah, I suppose there we go. That will very much wrap this one up. Matthew, cheers very much for coming on. Make sure to check out the Gaelic Statsman podcast when you get a chance. And anyone who tuned in, if you could hit the like button and subscribe, that'd be absolutely brilliant. There'll be a preview show out Thursday, so stay tuned for that. And there might be a vlog out. I need time to edit it, the Dublin and Kerry game, but hopefully we'll get time over the next few days. But if not, we will see you on Thursday. So yeah, cheers anyone who tuned in. We'll catch you all soon.